What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy, I was in this. Happy Sunday. It's probably gonna be a really dull day, guys. The crypto markets have been super stale. I think everybody's kind of tapped out. So I still want to stay true though to these weekly, Bitcoin and crypto updates. For the ones that are gonna tap in, great. The ones that don't, I get it. I understand. But for me, business is always, business, and we got to keep showing up. Eventually people will come. It's like I said. I give every week. I give updates in the Discord, and look, when back in April, March, when we had this massive liberation dump, everybody was like, "Jump, man! You're buying a fallen knife. It's gonna keep going lower. It's gonna keep going lower." Those were actually the best times to buy. And around September, August, when everybody said that we were going to be dumping and stuff like that, Bitcoin was hitting all-time highs. So it's all it's the way it is. Everybody has opinions. It's like I said, in my update, in the Discords, everybody's going to have their own opinions about where they believe Bitcoin's going to go. I've had a lot of people saying that Bitcoin's going to go to 60K, it's going to go to 70K, and everybody's just really dead set on, that it's going to go down. So, me, I like to go against the herd, and I tried to make sure that, I'm not guessing, but I'm just staying ready to react on whatever happens. So, we're gonna hit some altcoins. We're gonna continue to do what we're doing, and people that show up, they show up. If people don't, then hey, man, it's all good. So like I said, I appreciate everybody that tunes in to me and gives me their time and their attention. So you guys are more than welcome to send me any kind of messages in the chat if you want me to check any different altcoins for you guys. I'll be happy to do so. And we're just gonna let everybody slide in here. You guys are more than welcome to hit the comments for me. Let me know how your weekend was. Tell me about how you're handling this whole crypto debacle that we're in. And just chop it up. A little bit about me, man. I've been just kind of just chilling. I've been buying stuff. You guys know. You guys are locked in the Discord with me. You guys know what I've been buying. I've been loading up on, good layer ones. Been taking a little bit of a back seat on, some of these lower caps. It's kind of frustrating. I get it, but I think that, it's just the way it is right now. I've been really bullish on Parcels, Plume, and Camino Finance, and a lot of these low caps that, that just have not been doing well. So at the end of the day, it's like, hey, look, we're not going to feed these other coins that are just not performing well. So, we just got them on the back burner right now. This is money that, obviously, if it's, I'm not going to say I'm okay with losing money, but it's just money that, hey, look, I don't have millions of dollars in these altcoins. There's some that are more bullish on others. And I've always told you guys, look, Bitcoin's the king no matter what. And I think that everybody's portfolio should always be centered around Bitcoin. I think it's very, sad when you have people that just have a portfolio straight with meme coins, and that's not the way it should be done. I believe that Bitcoin should always be at least 60 to 70% of your portfolio. I was made fun of a lot, when I first started doing crypto, even some last year, before I was even trying to start doing content, a few of these bigger YouTubers that I talked to have them rate my portfolio, and they all kind of were just dismissing me that I was too heavy in Bitcoin. I had too much, big caps. But, if I would not have had Bitcoin in my portfolio, through the beginning of, 2024 and 2025, I would have been completely decimated. So, Bitcoin is always going to be the way. And that's just the way it is. Everybody has their opinions, like I said again. But, where you want to kind of gravitate with is people that are just being realistic. And I still see just a lot of crazy stuff in this market. You see a lot of people with outlandish price targets, outlandish, different, Cardano's gonna go to $10, XRP's gonna go to 100. And, look, the people that are gonna make it in this space are gonna be the people that have realistic price targets, and, and they have a little bit of balls, and that's just the way it is. You cannot just hop in crypto and just become a millionaire overnight, guys. It's going to be a long, painful road, guys. When I started, back in crypto, when I first got in, man, it was just crazy to see these 90% drawdowns. It was just like Bitcoin even going down 80%. It was just crazy. But, if you hold through, DCA, you have a plan, it may take a couple years. You'll eventually end up turning a profit. So, it's like I said in my update, many people will not give themselves the opportunity to let their asset or whatever investment they have go green. The first sight of trouble, they're quick to panic sell and move on. And like I said, at the end of the day, man, seeing your assets go down 20-30%, yeah, I agree. It can be a little bit worrisome if you're coming over from stocks, but like I said, this is not the place for you if you're faint, for the faint-hearted. So like I said, I get it, always protect your capital. Always make sure you guys are, properly divested. Make sure that you guys, are seeking any type of financial, services first before you start doing this stuff. I always encourage everybody to learn, make sure you're part of different communities that help, you learn crypto and make sure that there's some type of knowledge, or some type of, learning material in the Discord, not just, hey, buy this, hey, buy that, hey, buy this. There's a lot of great Discords out there, guys. Even if you're not trying to get in mines or whatever, there's a lot of great people out there. But the thing is that people just, they're just looking for quick fixes. And, if you're like that, it's going to be very painful for you. So I always encourage people to, try to learn. This is the time where people can make so much money. A lot of coins, they find their bottom in bear markets, and they do either one of two things. They go to zero, or they make generational comebacks. Like I said, I've seen so many coins. I can name you so many, and I can tell you so many that went to zero. So, the moral of the story is just, like I said, have a game plan. Make sure that you guys are, focusing on long-term growth. Obviously we all know the great altcoins to be into. It's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Chainlink, Solana, the coins that are getting, these layer twos, these global adoption, ETFs and stuff like that. These are the coins that you want to be in. You don't want to be in these coins that are just, just pump and dumps, which is pretty much 80% of them, maybe even more than that. But, like I said, there's just a lot of great opportunities out here. And that's just really kind of, it's sad, man. You guys are really bullish with me, when things are really great. And it's now, everybody's, kind of in the slums. And I get it, man. But, you have to understand, guys, you have to take the good and the bad. You cannot look at things like, oh man, I'm not gonna mess with this crypto stuff anymore. Look, guys, I know people that are running off to real estate, and stock market. Bitcoin and crypto is it's basically like a crystal ball. If there's trouble there in crypto markets, it's gonna be a front teller for all risk on assets. It's kind of telling you a story that there's something fundamentally broken with, our monetary system. So crypto is like a little bit of a lens for the future of stocks, people that have property and stuff like that. So, look, this is investing, and you have to understand that, this is just a long game. It's even like that with that stuff back there. I've been dealing a lot with Pokemon, and I'm not some hype seller or anything like that. I've been, buying Pokemon and collecting memorabilia for a long time. I have a nice little collection of stuff from the 90s and early 2000s and booster boxes from back in the 2015, 2016 era, and just buy and hold. I have a lot of stuff that that I've accumulated. I have booster boxes from Pokemon that I bought back in 2022. Now they're worth a couple, $4 or $5 grand. So it's just a matter of like knowing where to pivot, knowing when to be bullish, knowing how to make money, and having a long-term perspective. We'll get into crypto charts, by the way. I just wanted give some people some time to slide in here, and make their way in here. So right now, we'll cover crypto, but I just want to talk about a little bit of this, about the crypto and Pokemon side. So right now we got a 30th anniversary that's coming out right now, and everybody is just selling all their Pokemon cards because they figured out that, oh man, we're in some type of recession or whatever, and everybody's like, man, I can't make a quick flip anymore, so they just completely got out. So they're selling their memorabilia or their quick flips, 60 to 70% from its true value. And people like me, I see that, I buy it up, and I look at that as opportunities because these are people that don't understand the markets. They don't understand, cycles and what are corrections and stuff like that. So, I think that, crypto is definitely going to have a resurgence back in 2026, along with the crypto markets and Pokemon markets. And I think right now we're just going through the exact same thing that we were going through in 2019. And, and people that are selling right now are just, in my opinion, foolish. The time was to be selling was back, when I gave that warning about 102. Now that people are selling, when their altcoins are down 70, 80%, it just does not make sense to me. You're protecting, 10%, maybe 15% of further downside. And like I said, to me, in my opinion, respectfully, I think that's just, it's either foolish and it's just, you're too late. So I just encourage people, man, just be patient. Like I said, I think the markets are definitely going to come back. It's, people are not interested right now. It's the holidays. People are trying to put money on the table. So, it is what it is. Let's hit this chat real quick. William, what's up? Shy, thanks for the late video. We needed this. You are truly a godsend. God bless you and your family. Well, God bless you and thank you for that. Cara Blue said, thank you. I'm learning still. Don't even know what to ask, but I'm always willing to learn from everyone. Well, the best thing to do is always ask and never be shy to ask questions. Crypto is definitely not easy. And honestly, in my opinion, I find stocks a little bit more harder because actually there you got to, look at, their earnings and stuff like that. Crypto is just basically, look, stick to layer ones, try to be a little bit where you're selling into euphoria and buying fear. So if you can stick to those fundamentals, you'll be ahead of a lot of other people. Gracia says, thank you, Jumpman. Love these late night Sunday updates, getting us ready for the week. No doubt. And thank you, Miss Gracia, for that. So yes, speaking of getting us ready for the week, we have Jerome Powell on Sunday. So please make sure you guys are aware that this guy is either going to dump us or pump us. We'll check the we'll check the Fed Watch tool right now and we'll see what they're saying. DMTZ 187. Didn't El Salvador legalize BTC for tender use? Yes, they did. Chris Dean says, what's up, Jump? In it to win it for the long run. Yes, sir. Chris, you sound like a really smart man. Seth says, I just been real busy back at work. I hear you, brother. Me too, man. I was getting ready to retire, a crypto multi-millionaire, and then next thing you know, Trump put your boy back to flipping burgers. So here I am. But it's all good, man. We just got to keep on sticking to the script. We got to make sure that, we I always feel like God always puts us in a position where we need to do. I feel like when the time is ready, for all of us to make that really strong, move in our life where it's either finding a new job or retiring, I believe that God will always, put us on the path that we need to be. So at the end of the day, man, it's like, it probably wasn't our time to be. I feel like crypto will go up, and I feel like it could possibly happen as fast as when it fell recently. That's why I want to learn a lot. Definitely, and especially if you're getting in right now, Cara Blue, this is a time where everybody's completely tapped out. This is definitely the time to, be buying. Not financial advice, of course. I think this is a time where we should be buying very stingily. Don't go out there in full port, buy everything, 100%. But, say if you have, $1,000, excuse me, maybe do 10% buys. I always tell everybody, look, keep the buys anywhere between 3 to 5%. If we have like really big dumps or whatever, you can increase the buyout a little bit and, go from there. But like I said, at the end of the day, you want to keep the buys very minimal and try not to hold too many cryptocurrencies. I think from a lot of people that I met through the time that I've seen them, they hold like, 40 coins. If you have, less than $5,000, you should have anywhere between, 3 to 5 coins. If you have, around maybe 25K, try to keep it between, 5, 7 coins and such. If you have close to, 75 to 6 figures, you can spread it out between, 10 to 11 coins, but always make sure you have Bitcoin as the hedge. That's the number one thing, guys. If you have, an appetite for, a lot of gains and you can handle volatility, then yeah, you don't have to have a stronger allocation of Bitcoin. But if you're just trying to be as safe as possible, Bitcoin's always going to be the way to go. DMTZ says, I'm buying sealed Pokemon products and graded cards to hold for 10 years or longer. Pokemon franchise will never die. You got that right, bro. I mean, I got a lot of stuff, bro. I got like cases of booster boxes and stuff like that. They're all up there, man. Like I think I got one right there. It's Phantasmal Flames. I got a pretty nice collection, man. I've been buying a lot of stuff, dude. I should probably chill. But yeah, so let's get into the charts, man. I do want to cover something real quick. Let's hop into the Discord real quick. I want to show you guys this real quick. Okay, so the price is probably, let me see. We're probably sitting somewhere around 91K right now. I'll be more exact in a minute. Okay. So we got here in this top area right here, this is the liquidity to the upside. Okay, this is where, likely shorts are piling up right here and longs are piled up right here, okay? So we have some liquidity down here in this lower 86,000. So, the thing about this, if we get drove down here, this can cause cascading prices to the downside. I'm watching this area right now of 86.5. So if we get pushed down right here, I'm looking for a bounce there. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to long right there, but I'm looking to long if we push down to this area and we get a bounce. And I'm also looking for shorts here in this 95K zone. There's a lot of, shorts piled up right here in this area. So it's an either or. Right now, I'm just kind of in neutral mode. Us being so close to the FOMC, right now I think the best course of action is just like, look, if you have powder, which is cash reserve, just be defensive. It's not good to be all out. If you have 40% cash or 60% cash and 40% in, that's a good spread to have. Right now, I am currently about maybe 40% into crypto and about 60% cash. So I have a nice 6-figure cash reserve set by ready to buy any type of dips that occur. So, like I said, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of being prepared. So, everybody's going into this Fed meeting, with Jerome Powell, like, oh man, it's gonna be bearish. It's gonna be bearish. So, like I said, this is kind of piquing my curiosity of like, man, maybe should I be flipping bullish? So I'm just keeping an eye on it. Okay, so I'm not saying for anybody to do anything right now, but I'm just saying, there's kind of the recipes, for us to maybe potentially have some kind of bullish reversal to the upside. So just remember, if we do, push up into this area, we have all this liquidity up here. So if we're actually blasting through here, and if we do reject, I'm not saying, like I said, enter a short immediately, but usually what I'll do is I'll see if we tap that resistance up here. If we break it, go straight through, then yes, we could have a breakout. But if we tap it once, come back down and try to repeat again and fell, then that's usually when I'll start entering the short in those areas right there. So I'm just kind of playing it, by ear right now and seeing, what is the likelihood that we will see something bearish at the end. So let's move over real quick. Let's see. All right, so we're sitting at an 87% chance of a rate cut. So I mean, look, we're getting that 25%, cut. I think, this is pretty much sealed deal in the bag. But I'm not really thinking that, hey, look, this is gonna be, oh my God, we're gonna go to the moon. Like I said, I think that we just need to wait and see. For right now, just keep it defensive, okay? So let's go and hit this chart real quick. Let's cover some altcoins real quick, because I'm pretty sure 90% of you guys are all in alts, which ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, unless you're in the wrong altcoins, okay? All right, so we got order block down here, pretty much not exactly where I said, but we're sitting right here at that 89K. This would probably be the area where I'm be looking for, short action here. So I'll put it right here around this bearish green order block. This is going to be around 89.3. So likely if we start to tap that level right there, then that's where it would be likely that we would probably be coming back down here to test on that 86,000 where I said down here. So it would be 86.3. And I'm not, look, I'm not expecting 74K, but I wouldn't be surprised. So just keep that on the radar, guys. I don't want anybody to be caught off guard. So I know a lot of people, like I said, they're salivating at this, 70K Bitcoin. So it's a possibility. I've seen a lot of other people that are saying 58K, 48K, even some 30Kers, but in my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. So until levels are lost and breached, I'm just sticking like, hey, look, I'm still in the 80K camp. Maybe we come down to 74K back where we were in summertime, springtime, and then we go from there, okay? Let's see. I'm just going to hit some basic layer ones, guys. Chava said, what's up, Papi? What's up, my dude? Me and Chavo were talking today. We're talking about Giannis might be going to the Spurs, but he thinks that Giannis is going to go to the Lakers. So, if he does go to the Lakers, which I doubt it, I would be very surprised. But I don't know if you guys watch basketball, but I'm a humongous Spurs fan. So shout out to any Spurs fans out there. I know that there's not many, because we are loved by few, hated by most, and respected by all. But I'm looking forward to, hopefully these guys making the playoffs this year. So let's see what happens. All right, so I'm looking at SUI right now, guys. We are looking at the 1 hour time frame. I like to look at stuff right now on the medium terms. We got a double bottom right here. Current price is $1.62. I want to watch this area 151. If we get there, that would be considered a triple bottom. If we lose that level, then that's where I'd be concerned that we come back down to 135 and see what happens. Sefer says, I'm hoping he comes to the Knicks. Can you please explain to me how that's possible, man? I don't think they have the draft capital to make that happen. I think that, right now, in my opinion, I think the three teams that have the most tradable assets for Giannis is probably going to be the Spurs, Rockets, and Atlanta, in my opinion. I think that the Knicks would have to just give up way too much for him, in my opinion. I mean, if they can make it happen, I think they would have to give away OG, and I don't think that would be good for them. But could you imagine Cat and Giannis on the same team? That would be insane, dude. So that 135 is going to be that level for Sui, okay? Next one, we're going to hit up Morpho. Guys, Morpho has been getting the poop beaten out of it, man. DeFi, Layer 1. You guys that know me, guys know that I've been really bullish on DeFi. Remember, AVAX is the number 1, and then Morpho is going to be the number 2, and then you got Moonwell. In my opinion, Moonwell is going to be that third that's not so bullish. So not my cup of tea. But I'd like to go with Morpho because why? Morpho is backed up from Coinbase. And, I want to stick with, the ones that are clear, not necessarily winners, but underdogs. So I drew a trend line. I have one down here at $1.08 and then another one here at 83 cents. So I'm under this whole impression, guys, whenever we had this, drop down on the 10th of October, this is going to be the bear market low of where Morpho's at. So look, where I've always said multiple times, where it wicks, it sticks. I believe that wherever these cryptocurrencies wick down to, this is where they may revisit back at. So I do have a position in Morpho. And like I said, right now, I do have my buy orders set up right here at $1 and then sub back here at this 82 cents. And where I got this 82 cents was back at our April low. So that's where, we launched back there when we had that massive run up here during January. We were at $4, and ever since then, we pulled all the way back down to 80 cents. So I believe that, look, we can defend this 108. If we can defend that area and go back up, then we have a chance to maybe go back up to maybe 350, maybe even higher. So I just want to keep those two levels out there. And yeah, it's a possibility that we could go down to 50 cents. But, like I said, those are the two levels that I have set up right now for long trades. And I'm super hopeful that, if they do revisit those levels, that they will stick and hopefully bounce from those areas. And if they do, and it's just a short-term bounce, I'd be happy to, catch along from there and maybe get it back up to at least, 20-30% and then cash out on it, okay? Peter said, "What's up, peoples?" Seth says, if they traded Towns and some draft picks, maybe. Yeah, man, but I would rather them keep Towns, man. Towns is a G, bro. All right, let's see. Let's check out Aerodrome. All right, so again, guys, Coinbase, December 17th, approximately 11 days from now, they're going to have a massive event. Okay, not financial advice. Please, I'm encouraging you guys to do your research, look into all base tokens, friends and family. Look at your aerodromes, look at your virtuals, look at your, Morphos, Kita, all the base tokens, man. Keep them on the radar. There's something going on with Coinbase on that date. I don't know what it is. I'll probably need to call Brian up and see what's going on. Like, hey, Brian, I need some plebs alpha for the family. Let us know what's up. That way we can crank up some 10 to 15x leverage plays and cash out on these boys, okay? So, but the only thing that I can say is, look, we buy the hype, we sell the news, okay? So, right now, crypto's in the slums. Everybody's, crying and whining or running off, hiding or something, or touching grass. These are the opportunities, man. Aerodrome is it's at 68 cents. In my opinion, Aerodrome's been holding up pretty nice. Okay, we got an inverted head and shoulders, on the short time frame and on medium times. So looking really spicy. I think that, look, we can probably find a little bit better of an entry. Let me get rid of this real quick before I can pop a good line on here. So I want to keep this level on the radar. So we have 4 touches right here within the last couple of weeks right here. Okay, so this is going to be at 64,371. So we keep that on the radar. If we breach that level, then I would be looking to come back down to that 58 cents. And if we go down further from there, then we need to keep 50 cents solid on the radar, okay? Now, trust me, things can go bad, okay? Now, we can go all the way back down here to where we were back in April, which was around 28 cents. And I could just imagine the capitulation from, normies and people that are just, panicking. So keep that on the radar. Aerodrome is still, in my opinion, a good play. The only thing is, you should always be keeping up to date with your cryptos. They are moving over to Ethereum mainnet. Okay, so I think that should be bringing actually more adoption, more transactions to the network. So in my opinion, that may be good. All right, so I do want to check out Monad. Let's check out Monad real quick. Monad has been, obviously, since it's had its all-time high, it's been not looking too good. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah, so this one's it. Okay, I just want to make sure this was the right one. All right, so Monad's been pretty much holding this level right here, guys, and it's like what I said, I think in my last video that I talked about. All right, this is Coinbase's ICO right here. Okay, now I'm not saying that that this thing can't go down here, in price discovery to the downside. Definitely possible, but if this thing just goes to shit, and it just completely just falls off a cliff, this is really going to hurt Coinbase, and it's going to hurt their, it's going to hurt their, their outlook to the, to the consumer, because they're saying, hey, Coinbase, we're putting the consumer first, we're putting you guys first, which is probably all BS, and it is BS, but they don't want this coin to go down, because at the end of the day, guys, if it goes down, if they say, hey, December 17th, we're launching our official base token, which would be like the Chronos token to their base token, nobody's gonna want to get into this thing. So, I think that they're gonna try to keep it up. I would imagine, with the way that it's been kind of consolidating here for the last few days, that it looks like we found somewhat of a floor bottom. Like I said, if you guys are into leverage trading, I would keep this one on the radar. Definitely, I would not start longing until we retest back down here to this lower level of 2 cents, around 0.02562. See if we reach that level, we come back down here. Would be probably likely coming back down to its previous low right here at 0.02295. So last time we went down there like that, we had a good bounce. I think it was a 30% pump from the bottom, a 40% pump from the bottom, and then it kind of dipped down 10-15%, then came back up, failed on that, and then we came back down. We have I hope, looks like somewhat of a consolidation right here. So, you can take your little trend Fibonacci, run from your swing high to swing low, and you can really see very easily, your levels of resistance are going to be right here, 3 cents, 3.2 cents, and then 3.9 cents, and then you got your potential somewhat of a all-time high of 5 cents. So you have some opportunities to get anywhere between 20 to 30%. So I think this is a good opportunity if you're looking for I don't know if I want to say this is super high risk, but I would say it's pretty much of a medium risk, high risk trade. If you're doing leverage, keep it 2-3x. Keep a nice little maybe 5-7% stop loss on it. Keep yourself safe. Alrighty. Let's hit AVAX real quick. AVAX is my favorite token. Not doing well at all. 1370. Let's check the larger time frames real quick. I know we have a lot of falling wedge patterns all through the 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. This thing is, man, I'm telling you, when you guys were buying this with me, 17, 18 bucks, man, people were like, man, I'm going to wait for it to come back down. Here we are, man, 13 bucks. And where are the people at, man? Now they're wanting $7. Now they're wanting $10. So, like I said, where Wix it sticks, it's at 8.50. Like I said, for me, I'm watching this $12.50. That's its prior low. That would be a triple bottom. If we bounce from there, likely it would be bullish eventually, But if we do come back down, like I said, I'm gonna go back all the way back down to where we were in October. And in October, I think we were sitting around 1186. So, just keep those levels on your radar. I think AVAX, has been a little bit of a underperformer, definitely. A lot of people leverage trade this, and it's just one of those coins that goes up really fast, gives the gains back, so you could swing trade this, if you like to take the volatility up and just play it out like that. Okay, let's hit XRP real quick. XRP, we gave out a level in the KGU already. That one's still pretty much intact. We're sitting at that 207, 202 order that I gave out. I had an order at 205 that I got in, so I'm up like a percent, if that. And we just have these areas right here of resistance on the short time frame at 226, and then 250, and then right here at 270. Okay, we got a long way to go, guys. Okay, we had that high over here at 370, 360 around there back in July. And from there, man, it's just been, obviously a downturn. So we hopefully, we can get some good news. I mean, the ETF's already live. XRP, I think, has 24, 25 of these ETFs. But, you got to remember, guys, crypto is dependent on liquidity and monetary policy. So if we're yes, quantitative tightening is ended, but it doesn't mean that we have money injected into the markets just of yet. So it doesn't mean that, oh man, QT stopped, oh my god, we're going to the moon. No. We have to be honest. Go to the store. I mean, we're all going to the same stores and it looks dead outside. So this is gonna be a slow, long grind, my dudes. Don't think that this is gonna be like, oh man, we're gonna go to $5 in February. I think that this is gonna be a grind fest. I wouldn't be surprised if we come back down here to $160, $1.65. We hit that level back in around the summertime, springtime, and then we came back down here really close around the beginning of the middle of November. We went at 182. So this was like not too long ago. So like I said, we just got to keep that. I think for most part, we got to keep that $2 mark on on our radar. Okay, I think that's a really critical area for us right there. If we come and we breach that, 165, 135 is definitely on the cards, guys. I see a lot of YouTubers. I don't want to name drop, but there's this guy. His name is Oscar Ramos, and he's a cool guy. But it's just like, look, man, I don't like to tell people what they want to hear. We just got to come with the facts. Like I said, at the end of the day, great guys. I'm pretty sure everybody on YouTube is great, but sometimes people just get a little bit too excited, man. And look, we just got to be careful, man. This stuff is no joke. You buy XRP. I like to tell this story all the time about the guy in the KGU. He bought XRP at 365. We ain't heard from him since. So look, this wick down here is at 125. I don't think we go down that low, guys. We got that nice little bounce that we had, back over here. So let's see if we can defend it. But I think eventually, guys, we can expect that 450, maybe 475 XRP, maybe in 2026, maybe in 2027. Okay. Let's hit Solana real quick. Solana's another great token. You guys should be really considering that. I think we're almost close to a triple bottom. We are putting in lower highs, so that's good. On the 2 hour, looking good. Double bottom. double bottom. Right now, I think the best zones to be scooping up, Solana's at, it's going to be that $90, the $90 that we had back in April, and to where 120 on our previous low. So 120 to 90, that's a pretty big spread. But guys, I mean, it's, you guys know what's up in the Discord. I give you guys a lot more precise, entries in there. One coin that I do want to see, and I see somebody put it in the chat already, is Chainlink. Chainlink, I have been really buying this stuff like a madman. I see a lot of crypto influencers talking about this. I try to pivot from, what they say as far as price points. I've heard people saying Chainlink's going to go to $400. Please stay away from those people. I don't see how that's even humanly possible. I'm looking on the lines of like, $40, maybe 35, which is about a 3 to 4x from here. So I don't know about you, but I would love that. I did buy Chainlink. I was very transparent with you guys on those buy orders that we had down here in these areas, and $12, $50, even $13. I think it's a great price for Chainlink. We recently went down to $11.73. I have some buy wall setups right here at $11.20, and some even down here at $8. So if it does nuke, I have those orders ready to be filled. Remember, again, guys, this is something that I tell you guys over and over again. Whenever you see these long wicks, this is a big clue of, like I said, where price could go. I know, like, sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I want you guys to know the basics, and this is the basics. Knowing when to buy, and that way you just have your level set up, and you're ready to go. Yes, it kind of hurts me, because, oh man, people are not going to be watching me anymore. But, look, man, my whole goal is to make sure people know, what they're doing and how to buy. So as long as you guys are doing that, I'm fulfilling my purpose. So let's keep this level on the radar, $3.20. Okay. We have a bearish order block here. If we can't bounce from that area, we'll set some orders up there in those lower areas that I was telling you guys in those $11. Okay. Let's check out Crow, aka Kronos. Kronos is very bullish, guys. They have that treasury with Trump media, and it's it's a good swing trade. If you just guys are looking for quick 10-15% pumps. Every time that it gets real in this area where it gets into this little dip zone like that, it always has these little nice pumps. So notice right here, we came down right there, 20% pump. Then we had one right down here, 15% pump. So we came back down low here. I would be trying to set up here at this order block right here. Not order block, but a little bit above the order block right here. So you see how we had this bump here, came back down. We have this wick right here. I would try to pop a line right here and see if we can establish a lower high. So this would be about 10 cents, 133. Not saying to enter along there or anything like that, but I would keep that level on the radar. See if we can bounce from there. If we get a good bounce from there, we could probably take a nice little, low leverage long 2-3x, and then maybe take profits anywhere between, 11 cents to 10.5. And that would be a nice little 10% trade. So close. So it'd be about 7-8%. So if you're using leverage 2 or 3x, that would be about 20%. So those are the kind of trades I like. I don't like doing scalp trades. I try to stay away from the whole day trading thing, but I mean, if that's what's presenting itself to me, guys, then that's just what we got to take. So what I do is I use, $700-800, 2 or 3x leverage. And, I aim to get about maybe $80 to $100 a day. And I just keep stacking like that. So it's been working out good for me. I think about 2 weeks ago, I started off with 1,000. Right now I'm sitting at around maybe 5,300. Let's check it out real quick. Yeah, so I'm at 5368, so 5400. And the people that have been with me in the Plebs Discord, you guys have seen my journey. I post my updates every other day. So that's Crow. Look, but let's cover the bearish side though. Okay, now if stuff does roll over, we got 6 cents. That could be our low. So I would be net if you're trying to take a safe level, to that approach. I would start off maybe at 0.09202. Set up a long at that area, and maybe we can get a bounce there. That would be about 10 to 11% down from the current price. And that's what I've always been telling people in the in the Discord, is that you want to take longs from previous support levels. Those have a higher probability of holding up than just trying to find something on a short-term time frame and looking for a short bounce, because the problem with me is that I don't always have the luxury of just being able to watch the trade all day. There's some people out there that have the ability to sit there in front of a computer screen for 20 to 15 to 20 hours a day, and I don't have that type of time available. So I would definitely try to take a more calculated trade at the moment than just hopping in on a short scalp. Okay, let's check on parcels. I haven't even seen parcels chart in a long time. Let's see what they got going on. I think one of the mods that told me, oh my god, 2.5 cents. All right, so we came down here. This was a Friday. So Friday we came 20% pump. That was a nice pump up right there, guys. Really nice. So it looks like we're holding that 2.5 pretty well. If we can come back down, maybe we come back down. We have some bearish news, whatever. Let's see. I think we're actually in price discovery to the downside. So, we don't have that much further down to where we came back down on August 10th. So this is about 20%. So I would maybe look for something right here at this 0.02473. That's about 5% down from where it's at right now. Like I said, I hold some, but it's just been, it's a low cap. So I would just maybe encourage trading it. Just be careful. Frank White says, how long has this been going? It's been going for about 40 minutes, brother. Chris Dean said, ADA and H-bar. Let's hit ADA real quick. So, ADA is another coin that's just been kind of really bad. But look, they have a potential partnership with Circle. Circle is stable coin, company. One of the few stocks that I own, very bullish on it. I've been kind of getting my butt kicked in it, but I've been trying to DCA on this thing, man. I have some buy orders at $65. So I think that eventually Circle's gonna make a turnaround. We still have that legislation on it. So I think that, it's realistically, possible that Circle could probably go back to 100, 110. So, if it goes further than that, great, but I was buying, at 80, 70, and I got some more orders set up, at 60 if we start dipping down more. But I'm looking to maybe offload some around that 100, 110, and then keep a little bit of a moon bag for that 150, 180 zone, okay? So Cardano had a pretty good bounce right here at that 40 cents, I'm sorry. Previous low was right here. It was 37. This goes all the way back to 2023. And, the only thing about Cardano, man, is that it's just, man, dude, they got nothing going on, man. They got nothing being built there. President tweeted about it, went to $1 and then just gave it all away, man. So, they really got to do something, man. Cardano's one of these legacy coins that everybody knows it, but it just ain't doing nothing. And you can even pair AVAX in that camp, but I think that this circle partnership, with them is going to be hopefully a game changer. So I think that, if we can establish maybe some type of low right here at 25 cents, 27 cents, where we came back down here on October the 10th, and maybe we can get lucky, take this bad boy back up to 80 cents, be a nice little 2-3x for you. So, look, I don't want you guys to be drinking the Kool-Aid. All these influencers like, oh, Cardano's gonna go to $4, it's gonna go to $5. You got to stay away from these people, man. All these legacy channels, Discover Crypto, all these guys, man. Look, I like to watch their shows, man, but the price predictions, man, they get you guys all the time, and it's just I think people are just getting tired of it. And I think honestly that may be another reason why people are just said, I'm done with crypto, because these guys just give out stupid price targets and it's just not possible. I think altcoins are going to get anywhere between 50% to 300%, and that's it. Certain ones are going to do good, and the other ones are just going to be very poor performers. And I've been consistent with that since the day I started with my channel. So, there's just going to be some altcoins that have better narratives, more adoption than others. And I think, honestly, that there's going to be a handful that will accomplish that, and ones that I can tell you for sure are going to be Chainlink, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and maybe SUI and AVAX, and like I said, you heard that I said maybe AVAX, and this is one coin that I'm super bullish on. So that's why you can tell, like, I try to be real as possible, because this is a coin that I hold. It's in my portfolio, and I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, I don't, is it the cream of the crop? No. So, like I said, the point is to, have the expectations to a minimal. So, like I said, I would be trying to get this bad boy, offload this sucker, maybe somewhere back up to where, this 75, 80 cents where we're back in October. So, like I said, man, is it possible we can, go up more? Of course. But that's 110% return. Okay, so you put in, 15,000, that's 30,000. Okay, you can pay off somebody's school with that. Alrighty. Critics, we already did AVAX. Java, we just did parcels. Tony Nipolii. I almost said Tony Nipple. I'm like, oh shit. Make a trade. Tomorrow we're gonna be live trading. I think I'm already in a trade right now. I think so. I'm not sure if I am. Let me see if I am. No, right now I'm not. I have one set for tomorrow though. So if you want to tap in, it'll be with the KGU live trading session. Right now I'm just chilling, man. I usually don't like to trade Mondays. I can already tell you from my opinion what I think is going to happen. We're going to probably sweep up to 92, 93, try to tap that resistance and come straight back down. So hopefully it'll happen, by the time I get my live stream going, we can short. We got to hopefully it'll play out that way. Maybe it'll come out quicker. Let's hit H bar real quick, and then we'll hit say. Then we'll wrap it up. I got my wife waiting for me, man. She's probably like, where you at, Jump? All right, H bar sitting at 13 cents. We have, let's see. We have a bearish pennant on here. Don't really care too much about that. Head and shoulders. Let's take all this stuff out real quick. I really don't care about that. I do have this on the line. I drew this, I guess, for you guys a while back. I drew this trend line. This was right here at 12.9. So as you see, I don't know when we talked about it, but we bounced off this sucker 3 times. So now, one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to tap this and we're going to come back down, or we're going to break up. So my guess is that I'm going to look at this. We're above the EMA. on the 2 hour, 3 hour, the 1 hour, 45, 15. So everything's looking good. So I want to see if we can watch this level 13,241. If we can come back down and come back up, maybe we can get a retest back up here to this red order block right here at 14.4. This would be about a nice little 10% scalp, 7%. And then, we'll see what happens from there. But, HBAR is another coin that, was holding up pretty good. It was pretty much very much in line with XRP and XLM. So this one's gonna follow whatever these coins do. So if they start to kind of show bearishness, they're gonna follow right behind it. So if you pay attention, like through the whole year, HBAR, XLM, and XRP, they've been kind of like moving all three together. They've been holding up really well, but they just kind of have the same type of movement. So obviously we're seeing the downtrend, of the last few months, but it looks like we want to defend that 12.9 pretty good. So, where the wicks it sticks, this is showing 8 cents. Back, when I was buying it back last year in November, I was buying it at 4 or 5. So, and I cashed out around 30 cents. So I made a nice return on that. And I would not mind buying back on HBAR, anywhere between, 10 cents to 8 cents. So definitely, there's some value on that, brother. All right, let's hit say real quick. You guys ready for Christmas? Christmas is around the corner, man. I don't know about y'all guys, man, but when I hit the stores, man, I don't know, man. Just doesn't feel like Christmas. I see a lot of stores are not putting up Christmas lights. Mall areas, I think they're purposely not, giving out Christmas spirit. And I don't know, maybe that's just me putting my tinfoil hat, but I just think honestly, like a lot of these corporations are just trying to emulate like the, just a dark period, which, I agree. It's like, it's really hard out here. If you ever feel like the need to like, question, crypto, like, man, why is crypto not pumping? Well, guys, come on, take a look, man. People are out here struggling. They're saying that, we broke all-time records with spending and stuff like that, but it's kind of hard to believe. I see a lot of people. I work in the service industry, in the restaurants, and a lot of people just don't got it, man. So, just gotta keep these people in our prayers, okay? So say, is looking real good right here at this 12 cents. We had a nice little, dip and then pump, came back down. So we got that lower high right here, came back up and came back down. Pretty much this sucker is going to be doing exactly whatever Bitcoin's doing. So I'm looking for, maybe if we want to come back down here to this 12.43, keep a line on there. Let's see what happens. If we come back down here, set an order right here at 12.43, and let's see if we can rocket this bad boy back up here to 15.6 for a little quick scalp. Yeah, Gracia said it's all credit card debt. No doubt, man. And that's one thing that us people from the U.S., we love, man. We love our credit and we love debt, and that's the American way, dude. People, people are just always worried about what the Joneses are doing, We're not worried about what the true meaning of Christmas is. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, in our household, we're not out here, buying gifts and stuff like that. But, I did talk to my wife and I said, hey, look, maybe we should not be going super crazy this year. Not that we don't have the money to, but it's just principle, man. Like as a person that, we have money and stuff like that. I'm not trying to, brag or anything. I try to be humble. I wear dry fit shirts and I just regular dude. It's just like, man, sometimes I'm just like, man, do I really need all this stuff? Do I need this? Do I need this pair of Jordans other than the Jordan 11s that are coming out? I need those, but I'm just joking. But like, it's just, people are just always worried about what the Joneses are doing. And, it's like I said, at the end of the day, it's like, people will go into debt trying to have what somebody else has, and it's sad, what is it? Buy now, pay later's, almost at 1 billion, and it's just, it tells you a lot, how people are just not really financially, liquid right now, and they're using stuff like this, and it makes me worry. So, guys, just all I can say is that, don't go crazy on Christmas shopping if you ain't got it. There's hopefully, next year we have a better, year, and it's just go back to the fundamentals of what Christmas is, man. Just being grateful for our lives and being, grateful for our families, and just focus on, the positivity from there. Do something good for somebody else, and try to focus on positivity. All right, so that will say there. Again, set some orders right there at that 12.46. Chris Dean says, I appreciate your time and loyalty, bro. Better days ahead. God first, and everything else will be all right. You dang Skippy, brother. God first. Family's next. Friends next. And then, everything else follows suit, man. Critic says, appreciate you, bro. Hoping for a bullish future for AVAX. Me too, man. If not, then I'm going to have to be staying with you, bro, because my wife is going to throw me out. Jan says, prayer hands. Prayer hands to you too, man. Everything will be fine, guys. Look, like I said, man, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me this and that about, where the markets are going to go, we'd all be rich, man. Nobody knows, All we use this stuff for is just to give us a statistical, sorry, I got tongue-tied, area of probability. We're buying at a better probability zone than somebody else. And the chances are that it'll probably keep going down. But, like I said, you're buying stuff that, is being adopted by, other states. Wyoming's interested in, say, AVAX is being bought by Japan. They're adopting the tokenization from their network. RWA is I think they have more tokenized assets on AVAX than any other chain. You have Chainlink, that's an oracle for so many blockchains. It's basically the glue for so many other crypto projects. You have Bitcoin being adopted by countries. It's part of Argentina's legal tender now. Russia, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, all these boomer, brokerage accounts that didn't like Bitcoin. Now all of a sudden, now they're bullish on it. Now they're starting to adopt it. You got ETH and, what's his name? Tom Lee from Fundstrat, saying that there's going to be a 60,000 ETH and this guy's going ham sandwich on the buys. Like, it kind of makes me just think like, come on, dude. I think people are just comparing this a little bit too much to the prior cycles, and there just got to be a level of like, okay, we can't ignore that we're down. But from all the stuff that we've been seeing, guys, from just wars and recession and all this other crap, the Jerry Springer that's happening in our presidential office, between Powell and Trump. And, I think crypto's done somewhat okay. We've had 2 of the biggest liquidations in history within the last 3 months. So I think that we've been doing okay. So, let's just, I'm not saying let's hope for the best and like, oh, let's all hold each other. Look, man, at the end of the day, if this stuff goes bad, then, hey, I think the majority of us will be okay. I think a lot of you guys have some really good jobs and you guys have some pretty good intellect, and you guys will be okay. But like I said, for the most part, what we've always talked about on this channel were fundamental layer ones and always the core principles of Bitcoin first, Ethereum second, and, or XRP second, whatever. Don't kill me, XRP people. But, you get what I'm guys saying. Fundamental alts, they're all risky. Crypto's risky. But, like I said, at the end of the day, man, it's just risk. And you have to manage that yourself and find out what's best for you. Okay, so like I said, at the end of the day, I think that, if you have $1,000 in the market or $100,000 in the market, you should be blessed. Just be fortunate that you have money to invest and prepare for whatever happens. I think that the best strategy is a person that's ready for up or down, and that's the way that I play it. Like I said, I try not to guess. I use TA as just a window opportunity to tell me, what the probabilities are, and the probabilities are that we're likely to go back down to the lower 70s, and maybe even to tap the upper 60s, and that's just off of prior cycle trends. Now, like I said, even if we are in a confirmed bear market, guys, remember, there will be relief rallies. Some people think that bear market means like, oh my God, we're gonna do the dungeon drop, and it's just gonna be a big cascade downturn. But we'll find bounces, and when we find bounces, those are your opportunities to get out or de-risk or whatever you need to do. But the problem is that a lot of times in the markets is that people are just they don't know when to let go, and that's the problem. That's what we call not being able to manage your own emotions. And like I said, I've coached a lot of people. I've had people like jump, but this jump, cross-border payments jump, but global adoption, that doesn't mean anything. But rate cuts jump, that doesn't mean anything. Rate cuts are not a good thing, guys. Okay, so hate to break it to you. I know like all the crypto, mega influencers like, oh, quantitative tightening's ending, this and this and that, but it doesn't matter. Okay, remember, look at the stores, guys. Look around you. People don't have money. Retail needs you to buy more crypto, and you don't have the money to do it. So what they do is they just start fighting themselves. They're dumping, and then one's pumping, and then they're just basically playing this little game. And then there's going to be a point to where it's like, look, where fair value is for Bitcoin, people are going to be completely smoked out of the market. We get to 54K, and then everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to go down to 30K. We're going to go down to 20K. And then that's where the bottom's at. And then they launch it back up. And then you end up just sitting there with your thumbs in your mouth. And it's just like, it happens all the time, guys. I've been in this industry for a long time. I've seen just pretty much now everything. October 10th was like the icing on the cake for everything. I've seen this all. And, and it's just, people are too bullish and too damn bearish. So I think the best approach is just to, like I said, man, practice the 40-60 rule, 40% in, 60% cash. And then, when we start flipping bullish, 70% in, 30% cash. That way you always have, money to buy the dip, or you have money to buy, whatever that is you have to buy. Like I said, guys, people, that were in Zcash, they made a 40x on it, and then they just gave it all back. They gave it all back, and it's because of greed. I mean, dude, I've seen so many people like, oh, the bull market we never had a bull market. Yes, we did. A lot of 90% of the people that I've encountered through, my time with KGU or even in my personal Discord, they were not buying crypto in 2023. From the thousands of people that I've met, I would say maybe 20 people that I've encountered that were buying in 2022 and 2023. When Bitcoin was at 16K, I bought 5 Bitcoin. And, people were like, jump, no way. People that know me, I've showed people the receipts. And, how can you say, from 16 all the way down to 126K that we were not in a bull run? Solana did a 40x. XRP did, an 8x. XLM did a 7x in literally 2 weeks. A lot of these legacy coins, they did 4 or 5x's. So, that was a bull market, and I think people just don't understand that they were lied to by either their influencer, and maybe not even lie. Maybe they were just too bullish. So, look, I think this cycle right here is just, I would say maybe we're in some type of purgatory. People that are, in Christianity, they'll know what purgatory means. And I think that this is going to be a same replica cycle of 2018, 2019, around that area, where it's just going to be the exact same play out. We're going to bleed down for December. It's going to be a really nasty January. And we should see some relief somewhere between February, March, and hopefully a blow off top around sometime in April, June, or July. That's my guess, but I could be wrong. And, I'm happy to be wrong. Like I said, at the end of the day, like my boy, by the way, what's up, Rockets? He says rate cuts equal recession. Exactly. And that's an OG right there, man. I look up to him. I think that, it's great to be around people. I ask them sometimes, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I like to get, confluence, and just, I like to get not reassurance, but I like to double check. Sometimes it's good to see what other people see in the markets. And like I said, because sometimes, one thing I can tell you with us traders and even people, investors, that we get blinded by our own pride. And I'm one to never be shy to ask people for opinions. So sometimes, I'll ask Rockets, hey, can you check this chart for me? What do you think? And, like I said, it just gives me that extra layer blanket of, again, not reassurance, but just confluence, man. And, I asked him too. I was like, hey, man, I think we're in a bear market, and that was like the not popular thing to say, and I told you guys, remember, 1025, we lost with that 1025. You guys can scroll back on my videos, and I said, if we lose 1025, you better get the hell out of alts, and here we are today. Altcoins are even more further down, and I was not able to get out of a lot of them, guys. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, I have a, jump made it out of here. I got hit with some stuff, man, but I am blessed that I took some profits. I have a good net worth, and I'm waiting. I'm buying stuff that I like, that I think that will have good staying power, like XRP, ETH, Chainlink, Solana, no brainer stuff. Like, we're staying away from Moodang and Peanut the Squirrel and all that kind of bullshit, man. Guys, come on, man. These people have already shown their hands already. There's no, there's just no one that seems to get it, We want to buy stuff that, like I said, has, institutional adoption, and like I said, at the end of the day, people are either going to hate it or love it. And one thing that I can tell you for sure is that, look, everybody, F your feelings, Bitcoin's going to go to where it's going to go. And like Michael Saylor says, man, everybody gets Bitcoin for the price they deserve. And if, like I said, if you're bullish on it on 100K, who cares if it goes to 60K or 50K? Like I said, Wall Street's already shown you their hands. They want it. You wanted them in. So here they are. So now we just got to play by the rules, guys. All right. Have Busy said, it's been a minute, but glad to be back. Jumpman Goon for life. What's up, my dude? Feels like the cycle was filled with way more manipulation. Catching Rocket says, all love, fam. And I said BTC to 64K and no one believes me. Rockets, you be scaring me sometimes, man, with all that damn 64K stuff, man. But if Bitcoin does go to 64K, I will sell my Corvette Z06 and I will buy one full Bitcoin with it. Peter says Trump equals recession. Oh, man. I think we've been in one, bro. I mean, honestly, man, like, look, I'm not an economist, bro, but it's like, these guys have been lying to us for a long time. We haven't had coffee, included into our, into our numbers. We haven't had energy. These guys have been lying to us for a long time. So it's hard to know, what the truth is. And, I say this as a person that, I don't like talking politics here, but the guys that know Jump, we talk about our political views all the time. And, Trump is just Trump, man. He's like that type of person that, he's a piece of shit, and I went into this knowing that, so I'm just not surprised, So it's like, look, man, I just pray for the dude. If he fails, we fail. So at the end of the day, man, it says in the Bible for us to pray for our leaders, and that's what I do, man. I just pray that, whatever this guy's doing, art of the deal or art of the taco, I don't know, whatever he's doing, man. You can spam some tacos in the chat. But, like, it's just, at the end of the day, I just hope it works, because it feels like almost a rendition of last cycle, and it just doesn't seem like it's working. It feels like, they got this planned out where they're just gonna pump endless amount of money into the economy, and we're gonna have a inflation rage back up again, and it's just gonna be another thing, man. So we'll see what happens, man. Like I said, I gravitate towards Jesus Christ. I'm currently working on a Jesus Take the Wheel indicator. So, and when we get that perfected, we'll be selling it on here for $59.99. So you guys will be the first ones to be able to buy it. And we'll, I think that indicator has a 100% success rate. So until then, we'll see what's up. Jump, do you know how to draw fibs on a bear flag? If yes, draw the fibs on the 4 hour. You will see the 64 target. I don't really know how to do that on the bear flags. I mean, I know how to draw fibs. I'd go from the swing high to swing low. Let me see what you're saying, though. Let me check it out. BTC. Let's check out Tether US and Binance. IT's Binance chart. Let's see what you see in the 4 hour. I don't see the bear flag, but I do see a rising wedge, man. That's been up there for a long time, dude. That's been there for the longest, dude. That's been really, it's been hanging out there for the moment. And that's what I've been talking about for the longest. It's target down here at 58K. So it's been something that, I've been looking at it for a long time. So I when you say 64K, man, like I'm not down you for 1 minute. Like I said, as soon as I saw that rising wedge on here, I've left it here. I've had it stamped on here for like 3-4 weeks, and I just come back every week to kind of come back and circle back and check on it. So trust me, I'm not at one ever second doubting, not necessarily you, but I'm not doubting, the severity of the situation. Like, I know for a fact that, it's just, it's something that's a possibility. I tend to more to trade, I tend to trade more off support and resistance, and that's how, like, I've always been able to kind of stay afloat here. But there's going to be a time where, like I said, man, and we're really like just a micro strategy away from, of getting completely, annihilated. And I've talked about this a few times, in a few lives. It's called the Bitcoin death spiral. And I think that, if we do see some type of, situation where, if we get MicroStrategy delisted and they start hunting, MSTR, yeah, man, we're going to see some Bitcoin prices that we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time. So, I that's one thing that does worry me, brother. You said check my DMs. All right, I'll check it out tonight, brother. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, man. It's 1 a.m. over here at my time. I know you guys are late owls, but I do have a wife here, and she will be knocking on the door very soon. Like, Daddy Jump, where are you? And you know how that is, my married friends. But yeah, Rockets, I'll get back with you on the DMs, and maybe we can link up, man. I want to, like, maybe have a session with you one day. Pete said, check the entire life cycle of Bitcoin. The bottom of the bear market is around prior cycle top. For sure. P is my number one macro dude. This guy's smarter than ChatGPT. All right, guys. Thank you. Y'all guys, make sure to show some love. Remember, if there's any outsiders outside of here, we have links to KGU. We have links to, Discord in there. You guys are more than welcome to join the family. Stay connected with people that are into stocks, like-minded individuals. And, stay blessed. Okay, guys? Remember, at the end of the day, man, it's a long game. All right? Y'all stay blessed. Julio says, I understand the wife already in the room, but she made me here listening and playing FIFA. For sure, man. You gotta watch them Latinas, bro. All right, my dudes.